So if I'm not black enough, and if I'm not white enough, and if I'm not mad enough, then tell me, Tony, what am I?
New York City, 1962. In the middle of the bustling night, Tony Lip, an Italian guy known for being tough, stubborn, but fiercely loyal, was busy working as a waiter and a bouncer at a famous nightclub. His movements were sharp, quick, and confident.
I want you to guard it with your life.
And one thing he always held on to:
Give me the school's hat.
honesty. But that night, luck decided to turn its back on him.
Tony Lip!
A customer started causing trouble, and Tony, going a bit overboard, ended up knocking the guy out.
You know who I am?
The result? The club had to shut down for a while, and Tony lost his only source of income.
I'm gonna drink for 2 months.
That should not happen.
I don't want to be in... Don't worry about it. I took care. Yeah, I hope you... Take this. Put it in your cake.
At home, Tony wasn't the tough guy people saw at the club. He was a warm, responsible head of the family, a man who loved his wife and kids and would do anything to keep them safe. That morning, something felt a little different. He woke up to the sound of loud chatter from his father and his cousin, and he was even more surprised when he saw two black workers fixing something inside his house, with the prejudice that had been planted in him since childhood. Tony showed his disgust without hesitation, even throwing away the glass they had just used. That afternoon, Tony stopped by a small restaurant he often visited. There, he ran into Fat Polly, an old acquaintance and a hot-dogging champion. Polly challenged Tony to a contest, and since Tony was currently out of work, he felt he had to win just to keep some cash in his pocket. The contest began.
Get off, Lip! The baby elephant just hit 19! You're embarrassing! You're embarrassing your son!
And ended with Tony walking home with his stomach ready to explode. At home, his wife greeted him with an irritated tone, asking where he had been.
Hey, 26.
But when Tony explained what had just happened, the tension melted away. Not long after, Tony received a call from his family. There was a job offer, becoming the personal driver of a doctor. And since his family's situation wasn't looking good, Tony agreed instantly. Without a second thought, the next afternoon, Tony headed to the doctor's address, a luxurious theater. In front of the entrance, a few applicants were already waiting. When his turn came, he stepped into a room filled with antique objects, and Tony couldn't help but feel a little amazed. But that amazement quickly turned into surprise when he found out who he would be working for: Dr. Don Shirley, a doctor, an artist, and a black man. In an instant, Tony's attitude shifted without him even realizing it. With an elegant presence and a calm sense of authority, Dr. Shirley sat on his throne like a king in his own palace. He looked at Tony, then began asking about his work experience.
Limos, tow trucks, snow plows, whatever.
And one thing that mattered most to him.
Do you foresee any issues in working for a black man?
Tony gave an answer that was the complete opposite of the truth.
No. But just the other day, me and the wife had a couple of colored guys over at the house.
Well,
Dr. Shirley continued, explaining the duties Tony would have to handle during their journey. Feeling bothered by several of those tasks, Tony rejected the offer outright.
Good luck, Doc.
Tony.
But before he could walk out, Dr. Shirley spoke softly. Many of my colleagues told me, "You're the only one truly fit to accompany me." He went on to explain that their trip would take them through the American South, a region that at that time was notoriously hostile toward a black man. Those words made Tony pause. For the first time he felt needed, Tony demanded a higher salary and insisted on removing a few duties that went against his principles.
Thank you for stopping by.
A goodbye without certainty, the decision still unclear. Feeling like his luck hadn't turned at all that day, he stopped by a small nightclub there. By chance, he ran into one of the city's biggest mafia bosses. Knowing Tony was down on his luck, the man immediately offered him a big job with an extremely tempting payout.
Appreciate it,
But Tony turned it down. He refused to dirty his hands. Not this time. And instead of taking dirty money, Tony chose to pawn his own watch just to keep his household running.
Everything okay?
mind your business.
The next morning, a phone call woke Tony and his wife. It was Dr. Shirley. He agreed to all of Tony's demands from yesterday. But Tony's wife grew worried when she learned the trip would last a full 2 months. Tony tried to calm her, joking lightly.
Keep eating 26 hot dogs every day.
That day, Dr. Shirley's management handed Tony a portion of his advance pay, gave him a brand new company car, and one item that mattered most for their journey, the Green Book, a special guidebook for black travelers listing hotels and places where they would be safe in an era filled with discrimination. As a responsible father and husband, Tony said goodbye to his wife and their 2 children. Before he left, his wife held his hand tightly and said, "Write me a letter every week." And with that, their long journey began, a journey of 2 men who shared nothing in common, yet will discover the true meaning of friendship. On the first day of the trip, Dr. Shirley was immediately uncomfortable with Tony's habits, from his unfocused driving, thanks to constant eating and drinking, to his non-stop smoking, and even stopping on the side of the road just to pee. Not to mention Tony's mouth that never seemed to have a break. When they arrived at the hotel, Tony noticed Dr. Shirley sitting alone on the balcony of his room, sipping his drink. Not joining the band members who were laughing and flirting with the ladies, there was something that kept Dr. Shirley distant, and Tony could feel it. When the first performance began, every guest in the room fell silent in awe. The way Dr. Shirley played the piano was more than music. It was art of the highest form. And for the first time, Tony felt proud to be part of the journey of a musician like Dr. Shirley.
It's your dice. I'm just having a lucky night.
You cheating, bro. Tony.
After the show ended, Dr. Shirley caught Tony gambling with the other drivers. With a disappointed tone, he said, "If you need money, you can just tell me." Tony replied casually, "Earning it myself feels better."
They didn't have a choice whether to be inside or out. You did.
Dear Dolores, how are you?
A few days passed, and Tony kept his promise to write letters to his wife, between stories about food and their daily routine. He also wrote about how incredible Dr. Shirley's performance was on stage.
He plays like Liberace, but better. He's like a genius, I think.
As they continued their journey, Tony asked for a quick stop to buy snacks and cigarettes, but before entering the store, his eyes fell on a piece of jade lying outside the merchandise box. Without thinking twice, he picked it up. Not long after, one of the band crew saw what happened and reported it to Dr. Shirley. When Tony was asked to return the jade, he refused outright.
You picked it up and put it in your pocket.
Because that ain't stealing.
In his mind, it wasn't stealing because he didn't take it from the box, but Dr. Shirley insisted. He refused to continue the trip unless Tony returned it.
Do not drive, Mr. Vallelonga.
Annoyed and reluctant, Tony finally gave in and returned the stone. When they arrived in Hanover, Tony continued his duty, making sure the stage preparations matched the contract. But when he saw the piano they provided wasn't the right one, he politely asked the management to replace it.
Excuse me, sir.
Unfortunately, they refused, so Tony added a little love tap to the left cheek of the person in charge. And suddenly, everything went smoothly. The performance went on perfectly, without a single problem.
You're married?
Was.
On their way to Kentucky, the relationship between Tony and Dr. Shirley finally began to thaw. Tony asked if Dr. Shirley had ever been married. With a calm, honest tone, Dr. Shirley told him that he once had a good wife. Although her sharp tongue reminded him a little of Tony, but his constant traveling made it impossible for the marriage to survive.
Couldn't seem to manage both worlds.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Their conversation stopped when they drove past a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Tony's stomach growled instantly. Without a second thought, he bought a big bucket of fried chicken, eating loudly and happily. He offered a piece to Dr. Shirley. Tony was shocked when he learned that Dr. Shirley had never eaten fried chicken in his entire life. Of course, Tony got even more excited to convince him.
Bafango, eat it with your hands. That's how you tell me that don't smell good. Huh? Come on, take it. Come on.
I can't do this, Tony.
Eat the goddamn thing. What, no good?
And as you might guess, One piece of fried chicken was definitely not enough.
We do this.
When they arrived at the motel, Tony was surprised to see how different it looked from the description.
Place looks like my ass.
But with no other choice, Dr. Shirley had to stay there for the night.
Hey!
Later that evening, while he was sitting outside his room, a few other tenants came to disturb him. Not wanting to cause any trouble, Dr. Shirley quietly walked away and went to a nearby club. Meanwhile, Tony sat alone in his room, staring at the photo of his beautiful wife. The weight of longing pressed heavily on his chest as he tried to comfort himself with a slice of pizza.
Tony, come on! Hurry up!
Suddenly, George, one of the band members, banged on his door. George told him that Dr. Shirley was in trouble.
Get your hands off him!
At a club, when Tony arrived, he found Dr. Shirley drunk, being beaten by a group of racist white men. His face was bruised, his body barely standing. Sweet talk didn't work.
Need a Brillo pad to wash these dishes with.
And let him go.
The leader of the group pulled out a folding knife. Tony stepped forward, pretending to reach for a gun under his jacket. Tension exploded in the room. The bar owner, not wanting his place to turn into a battlefield, quickly intervened with a shotgun in his hands. And just like that, the fight stopped. On the way back to the motel, a small argument broke out. Tony reminded him that they were in a state far from friendly.
Do you know where you are?
But to Dr. Shirley, every place felt the same. Wherever he went, people always saw his skin color first.
Do you really have a gun?
The next morning, on their way to North Carolina, their car suddenly overheated. While Tony waited for the radiator to cool, Dr. Shirley stepped out to stretch. Across the road, a group of black laborers paused their work and stared at him, confused, as if seeing something out of place, awkward but silent. Dr. Shirley said nothing, seeing the tension. Tony quickly told him to get back in the car as soon as the engine was ready. The performance that night wasn't held in a theater.
Don Shirley.
It was in the home of an important official. The welcome was warm. Everything looked perfect, at least on the surface.
We'll return after a brief intermission.
Excuse me, Don.
But during the break, Dr. Shirley asked permission to use the restroom. And that's when the humiliation happened. The host refused to let him use the indoor bathroom. Instead, he pointed him toward a filthy outhouse outside the kind used by servants. Dr. Shirley tried to negotiate. He said he would rather drive back to the hotel, which would take an hour and a half. Strangely, the host didn't mind at all.
We don't mind waiting.
We can piss in the woods.
On the way to the hotel, Tony suggested he relieve himself in the woods, like a normal man. Dr. Shirley was offended and replied, "Only animals relieve themselves in the woods." Tension rose even higher when Dr. Shirley mentioned the discrimination he faced from white people.
You saying just 'cause I'm white and they're white?
A comment that hit Tony's pride as if he were being accused himself.
Eyes on the road. How does he smile and shake their hands like that?
Despite the humiliation, Dr. Shirley stayed professional. He finished the concert with grace, as if nothing had happened. Afterward, one of the band members told Tony that if Dr. Shirley stayed in the North, he could earn triple the money without risking his safety on this tour. Tony wondered silently, what was Dr. Shirley truly searching for? Whatever it was, he kept choosing to walk this difficult road. The next morning, Tony sat in front of the motel, busy writing a letter to his wife. Dr. Shirley peeked a little and immediately commented on Tony's handwriting. "Your letters look like the notes of a trainee pharmacist," he teased. In the end, Dr. Shirley helped Tony dictate some romantic lines.
Falling in love with you was the easiest thing I've ever done.
Tony couldn't stop smiling. Turns out it felt pretty fun to be poetic.
It's very fucking romantic. Nothing matters to me but you. And I will love you the rest of my life.
When they arrived in Macon, they stopped by a boutique. But once again, Dr. Shirley faced demeaning treatment. The shop owner assumed Tony was the one who wanted to buy something. When Dr. Shirley tried to fit one of the suits, the owner refused with an unreasonable excuse.
You're not allowed to try that on.
Dr. Shirley held himself back.
I see.
While Tony held back his anger. When they arrived in Memphis, Tennessee, Tony met an old friend in the hotel lobby. His friend was surprised to see Tony working for a black man. Out of pity, they offered him a job with twice the pay. Dr. Shirley, who was not far away, observed their conversation.
Otto preciso, capito?
Sorry, Doc. There's some friends from New York.
When Tony was about to meet his friends, it turned out that Dr. Shirley was already waiting for him outside, and he began speaking in Italian, showing that he understood everything.
Con il tuo amico Dominic?
To keep Tony with him, Dr. Shirley offered a new position, a travel manager with a higher salary. But Tony refused and said,
I ain't going nowhere, Doc. I was just going down to tell him.
That night, the two of them relaxed in the hotel corridor. There, for the first time, Dr. Shirley opened a small door to his past. He told Tony that it was his mother who first placed his fingers on a piano key, and from that moment, his life changed. His talent caught the attention of someone from a wealthy family, who later sent him to study at the Leningrad Conservatory of Music. Tony listened with bright eyes, truly enjoying this story from his boss, without them realizing it. This long journey was slowly binding them together as two friends. On the way to their next city, a funny moment happened. When their car lined up beside another vehicle, the driver glanced at Dr. Shirley, shocked to see a black man sitting in the back seat with an Italian driver. Tony noticed the stare and simply offered a greeting with his middle finger. Show after show went smoothly, all thanks to Tony, who always made sure everything was in order. But when they entered the state of Mississippi, real trouble finally appeared. In the middle of heavy rain, their car was pulled over by local police. The officer's tone instantly changed when he saw Dr. Shirley in the back seat. In that area, black people were not allowed to be out at night.
He's my boss.
One officer deliberately acted racist toward Tony. Tony was white enough to deserve respect.
You half a nigger yourself.
Tony, unable to tolerate it, gave the officer a little physical touch. And, as a thank you, both of them ended up thrown into a jail cell. Inside the cramped cell, Dr. Shirley was furious. Tony could only regret what happened, but there was nothing he could do.
Hold me without cause.
Moments later, Dr. Shirley demanded his right to make a phone call, and that phone call changed everything.
Give me.
Gee, Brad, who's
Moments
this?
later, the police station's phone rang. The officer's tone stiffened instantly. It turned out the governor himself, under direct orders, demanded that Dr. Shirley and Tony be released. Whether they liked it or not, the officers unlocked the cell with sour faces.
I'm telling you to do it, and I'm telling you to get him the goddamn out.
On the drive back, Tony was still stunned.
Bobby Kennedy just saved our asses.
He finally learned who Dr. Shirley had called none other than the Attorney General of the United States, Bobby Kennedy. Tony felt proud. But oddly, Dr. Shirley looked uncomfortable. For him, asking for help like that was a small favor for someone of Kennedy's status, and it made him feel guilty rather than honored. And the anger inside, Dr. Shirley wasn't gone. He confronted Tony again about what happened. Tony defended himself.
What, I can't get mad at that stuff he was saying because I ain't black? Christ, I'm blacker than you are.
In an instant, their conversation spiraled into an argument about identity and race. Tony snapped. He claimed his life had been far more dark than Dr. Shirley's ever was. He grew up on the streets, scamming people just to feed his family, while Dr. Shirley lived in a palace, sitting on a throne, earning money from the wealthy as he traveled the world.
Stop the car, Tony!
Feeling misunderstood, Dr. Shirley asked Tony to stop the car. And there, he finally spoke the truth about the pain he'd been carrying for so long. That wealthy people only watched him perform to make themselves look dignified. That once the concerts ended, he was treated no differently than any other black man. And even among his own people, he never truly belonged because he was different. For the first time, Tony truly understood him. They soon arrived at the final city of the tour. At the venue, the restaurant manager greeted them with warm gestures. The night looked grand, festive, important. But the hospitality was only a mask. Since they arrived early, Dr. Shirley was escorted to a waiting room that barely deserves to be called a room. More like an old, dusty storage closet. But as always, Dr. Shirley held his composure. As Tony eats, two band members join him. One of them finally explains the real reason Dr. Shirley chose to tour the Deep South. He wants to change how white people see black people, even if it's just a little at a time.
It takes courage to change people's hearts.
When Dr. Shirley walks into the restaurant area, a waiter stops him. And, as expected, his skin color becomes the reason he's treated differently. The restaurant manager tries to explain it politely. But polite words can't hide how rotten the treatment is.
I'm afraid not. I'm not eating in that storage room.
He even tries to convince Tony to persuade Dr. Shirley to stay and perform. When that fails, he tries to bribe Tony, and even a man like Tony, who knows a thing or two about bribing, feels offended when someone tries to bribe him. Dr. Shirley sees everything. Without wanting to drag the drama any further, he leaves the decision to Tony.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Where the hell do you think you're going? Honey, Bill, everything's gonna be fine. It's all right. Get yourself around right now, goddammit! Right now!
Bill, you hear me? I shipped that goddamn Steinway in from Atlanta for you.
Tony, are you hungry?
To shake off their frustration and their hunger, the two of them stopped by a small bar nearby. A simple place, cozy, and clearly a spot where the local black community gathered. With his formal, elegant outfit, Dr. Shirley immediately drew attention, especially because he walked in with Tony, a pair you rarely see in a place like that.
What you do, all dressed up like that?
After they finished eating, a waitress asked what Dr. Shirley did for a living. Tony answered casually,
He's only the greatest piano player in the world.
Don't tell me nothing. Show me.
The waitress challenged him to play on the tiny stage in the corner. And the moment Dr. Shirley's fingers touched the piano keys, the room fell silent. Musicians in the bar turned their heads. The cook peeked out from the kitchen. Even Tony froze. He had never seen him play like that.
Whoa!
When the bar musicians joined in, the night turned into a small, explosive jam session, full of energy and freedom. They left the bar with their hearts full.
That's how you break a key.
Dr. Shirley decided they should head out right away so they could make it to New York on time. The weather turned rough on the road. Dr. Shirley teased Tony about the lucky stone, and of course, Tony hadn't really returned it.
Why don't you put your lucky rock up on the dash, Tony? Thank you.
You're a real prick. You know that?
Ironically, the stone wasn't helping at all. They were stopped by the police again, but this time the officers were polite, simply warning them that one of their tires had blown out.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Okay, be careful, gentlemen.
After changing it, they continued their drive. And that night, something rare happened. They actually met Good Cop. Snow kept falling without a break, making the road harder and harder to navigate. Tony struggled to keep his focus. Eventually, he gave up. Miraculously, they made it. Dr. Shirley gently woke Tony, who had fallen fast asleep in the back seat. As they were about to part ways, Tony warmly invited him to stop by and meet his family. But Dr. Shirley declined. Tony felt a little disappointed, but he understood. At Tony's home, Christmas felt alive. The whole family gathered, welcoming him with laughter, warmth, and joy.
Anything left?
Meanwhile, in his grand, luxurious apartment, Dr. Shirley sat alone, silent, surrounded by wealth, yet wrapped in a cold emptiness. In his hand, he held the jade lucky stone Tony once stole, a quiet reminder of their journey and their unlikely friendship. Back at Tony's home, Tony wasn't as cheerful as usual. Something felt missing. His brother-in-law noticed and asked, but Tony simply said he was tired.
Long trip.
Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. When the door opened, Tony's face lit up instantly. In 2 months on the road, they had never hugged as tightly as they did in that moment. Tony proudly introduced Dr. Shirley to the whole family.
Merry Christmas.
Everyone welcomed him kindly, even if they paused for a moment in surprise.
Come on. You must be Dolores.
Dr. Shirley thanked Dolores for lending Tony to him for 2 long months. And Dolores replied,
Thank you for helping him with the letters.